This is the Enlisted Podcast, episode number 1 with Sergeant Ryan Flores, United States Marine Corps. A few weeks after establishing Camp Howard on North Island in San Diego, Colonel Joseph Pendleton on September 6, 1914, was the guest speaker in the U.S. Grant Hotel in downtown San Diego. The subject of his speech was San Diego, an ideal location for a permanent Marine Corps base. The drive behind his lecture was the unsatisfactory conditions and the less than convenient location of his men and staff at Camp Howard. At this time, Colonel Pendleton wrote to the Commandant of the Marine Corps at Washington, D.C. about the deplorable conditions at Camp Howard and presented the idea of a possible establishment of a permanent Marine Corps base in San Diego. The Navy General Board approved the establishment of the base on January 8, 1916. On March 1st, 1924, the base has been developed as a result of the vision of efforts of General Pendleton became official, the Marine Corps Base San Diego, and would be known by that name for the next 24 years. On January 1st, 1948, Marine Corps Base San Diego was officially renamed Marine Corps Recruit Depot San Diego. The recruit training command grew from 3 to 8 battalions to handle the troop requirements for the Korean War. And from that moment, the Recruit Depot San Diego took people from the center of the nation to the West Coast, and going from the center nation to the East Coast went to Parris Island. And joining me today is Sergeant Ryan Flores, who went to Marine Corps San Diego. And I'm going to throw a little bit of a dig at him for going to San Diego, what we call Hollywood Marines. Anybody who knows that. Welcome to the Enlisted Podcast. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for inviting me and letting me come on here. So, 1997, I ended up at the depot in San Diego, Marine Corps Recruit Depot. And, well, the rest is about to be unfolded here with you.
Yeah. Now, going to San Diego, you guys got nicer weather. But I hear a rumor that while you're stationed there, you watch people take off from the airfield. Is that accurate? You could actually see people taking off and think about how nice it would be to go home?
The training area of the depot is perimeter fence, borders the airfield for the San Diego Lindbergh Field. So every aircraft that takes off throughout the day is literally right behind us as we're training, bayonet training, running the O courses. Everything is right there behind us. So on a day-to-day basis, even from the squad base, you could see the aircraft. Well, I guess depending on whether you were on the port side or the starboard side, you could see the aircraft taking off from the squad bay.
So your, I guess, the stress levels that you had to deal with there, you could watch people take off. And, did you ever think, maybe you'd escape, run across to the airfield, try to get a ticket out of there when you were there?
I think a lot of us had that idea.
Yeah. I mean, we were told in Parris Island that if you try to escape, you will die trying, thanks to the swamp that was surrounding the base. There was no way off that base. One way in, one way out, guarded by Marine MPs.
We were fortunate in that we didn't have the same stringent airfield regulations they have after 9/11. So I think we might have got a better shake running through the airfield than going out the main gate.
So you're coming in here from Texas. You grew up in Texas, is that correct?
Well, originally I was born in Misawa Air Base, Japan, but most of my life is from Harlingen, Texas. My family's originally from Harlingen. My dad was in the service, my uncles, my grandfather in World War II. So we have a huge military legacy in our family. And so after my dad got out of the Air Force, we returned back to his hometown and lived here.
So listen, Texas, right about now, I could use some Texas weather. I'm staring outside to a frozen tundra where I relocated. So I just recently retired from the NYPD and decided to move somewhere closer to the North Pole, where it freezes up on pretty much all winter long. Most people retire and go to a beachy place, but not me. So down in Texas, you grew up. How was what led to your choice to join the Marine Corps? I mean, was it just because you had family that have always served, or was it more like? And by the way, why not the Air Force?
Okay, well, my dad joined the Air Force, and my older brother ahead of me joined the Air Force. A good 4 years or so before I did. So the, the truth of the matter is, I was 1997. I was in college skipping class to see my girlfriend. So I'm paying to go to college and skipping class to go see her at the high school. And one night we were babysitting my cousin, and Dateline had a special about the Crucible and becoming a United States Marine. And all joking aside, that broadcast convinced me to go down the next day, talk with a recruiter, and sign up. That's literally how it happened.
See, me, I went into the recruiting station to go join the army, okay, against my parents' will. So I get there and nobody's there, and a Marine comes in, the Marine recruiter from down the hall, of course. He said, "Can I help you, son?" I said, "Yeah, I'm just waiting on these guys, but why don't you have a seat in my office and hang out?" Right?
Yeah.
Sure. Thanks. I appreciate it. They're out to lunch. They're always eating, those guys, he says. You go sit down in his recruiting office, and he's got a Time magazine right in front of him. Staff Sergeant Lee. Never forget this guy. Great guy. And there he is. Inside the magazine is him from the first Gulf War, Scout Sniper, Marine Corps. It's his picture in the magazine. Now, whether or not he put that in there, or if it's legit, he got me hooked right there. But yeah, I don't have any family that was in. I'm the first person in my first wormhole to serve for the United States military. My father came from Europe, so and my mother. I don't know how many service members were on the side, but as far as a wormhole, that was the first. But yeah, the recruiter got me waiting for the army.
Waiting for the army.
Yeah, yeah. So
Hey, that's how Marines do it. We're always waiting on the army.
yeah, for real. So you transitioning now from high school, getting into the boot camp. What was your boot camp experience like? First of all, first battalion, second battalion, third battalion. I always got to ask.
2nd Battalion Golf Company.
So second battalion, Fox Company. See, we make the best Marines, I think.
Isn't it crazy, the stuff that you never forget?
Right?
Platoon
Yeah.
2095. Those numbers are burned into my head.
Yep. Platoon 2002. I could try to forget. I won't forget. It just sticks.
I can't remember my own phone number, but I still remember my boot camp platoon number.
Right. So tell me a little bit about your experience at boot camp.
And I got no complaints. I think boot camp was, contrary to what everybody said, I think boot camp was great. I think it was everything I saw in that Dateline special. All the training that I saw, all the experiences, the slide for life, the bayonet training and stabbing the dummies. It was really what I wanted. That the only thing I can say I didn't like, of course, is the running. I'm not a big runner to this day, but yeah, everything else was exactly what I wanted. Combat hits, obstacle courses. It was like stuff me and my two brothers grew up doing out here in Texas. Sport shooting, climbing trees, crossing lakes. Looking for animals, shooting snakes as they pop their head out of the water. We grew up in a South Texas environment where being outdoors and being a sportsman is just kind of part of the environment down here, and everybody kind of takes to it pretty well. So that was no shock for me. I think my biggest fear was never being an active person and being in sports. And so I really thought, like, man, what if I don't make it? I told all my friends and my family that I was leaving in the Marines, and heaven forbid I got to go back to my hometown and tell them I didn't have what it takes. But luckily I was able to pull through boot camp and make it the 13 weeks and earn that title.
Now, the most challenging for me, I would have to say, I agree, is the running. I hate running. I played sports. I played football, lacrosse, and I thought I was in good shape. But when you're just running, and I don't care how many cadences you sing as you run, that's some boring. Like, it can get pretty boring.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it just seems like it takes forever when you're at boot camp, because you got the drill instructors, screaming at you. But let me ask you, because I never actually fired a weapon until I was in the Marine Corps. Growing up using, like you said, Texas, firing rifles and stuff, was it easy for you at the range, or was it more difficult? Because they always tell you, forget about everything you know. They want
Right.
you to start from scratch. Did you find that helped or hurt you?
I think firing in the past hurt, and I think coming from a home where we didn't have specific marksmanship training, we use a lot of what they call Kentucky windage. And in the
Yeah.
military, there is no Kentucky windage. If your dope is off, you got to adjust your dope and get your sights on target. And I think that was a harder part than trying to aim a little bit above the target to hit center black. And they when they catch you doing that, it gets pretty intense. So I think actually learning how to battle sight my weapon and then keep it on target. Adjusting for windage, adjusting for distance. I think learning all that was a great experience, but I think having not ever really done that before, basically adjusting where you point the weapon to hit your target is, it's a different way of doing things. But of course, in the Marine Corps, it's a little more effective to adjust those sights and keep yourself dead on.
So if you were telling somebody right now who's getting ready to go off to boot camp, who thinks they know it all when it comes to shooting, listen to what they tell you, you would say, based on your experience.
I would say listen to what they're telling you, and it's like everything else in boot camp. It's laid out for you Mickey Mouse style.
Right.
You got
Right.
the shooter's Bible they give you. It tells you how to adjust, how many clicks, how to make an inference about the distance, the range flags. So it has a lot of guides for you to go off of to keep yourself on target.
So on Paris Island, I'm sure you've heard over the years about the sand fleas that we had to endure getting eaten alive. What would you say would be your version of that in San Diego? What was, I
The
guess,
hills.
the hills?
We had
Okay.
we had a lot of hills. Mount MF, for lack of a better word. We had Mount MF, which is our Major's Hill, First Sergeant's Hill. We had the Reaper. So any part of completing tasks in Camp Pendleton, where we did our field weeks, was with mountainous terrain.
Oh, so they ship you up to Pendleton for the training?
So yeah, you do your first 2/3 of boot camp at San Diego at MCRD, and then when you do your rifle qual and your field weeks, it's 4 weeks at Camp Pendleton. So you
Oh,
pack up all your gear, everything in the squad bay, cleaning supplies, and you pack them all up. We put them in these little loading trucks, and then they load us up into the Bluebird buses and take us to Camp Pendleton. It's about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on traffic from San Diego.
wow. So that, you know what? That's something I never knew. And I've served in the Marine Corps with guys, and I never realized that you would have to spend. That's a little bit. That could be stressful when you're
Oh
trying
yeah.
to, and now you're moving everything. And I'm sure the drill instructors are
They
really
want you to move
good
at a
on giving
certain
you time.
speed. They want you to pack everything up a certain way. They want you to unpack a certain way, and
I'm
so
sure they
it
gave you
was a
plenty
little
of
bit
time to do that.
tedious. But I think they kind of lighten up on you a little bit when it's field week, because that's when they start to incorporate live ammo and
Right.
weapons training. So they tend to go a little lighter versus the first month and a half is pretty
Right.
intense.
Yeah, I do remember them kind of taking it easy once they're handing disgruntled recruits live ammunition and firearms for the first time. Um, After, towards the end, getting through the crucible and everything, I know for me personally, and I'm sure for a lot of others out there that went through boot camp, the EGA, getting that Eagle Globe and Anchor, which I don't even know if you could say EGA anymore in today's world. I guess you can't say that, but Eagle Globe and Anchor ceremony. It's a rumor I heard. Not verified. Um, that ceremony really, really, gets people emotional, myself included. What was your experience when you were actually handed that Eagle Globe and Anchor?
I think it was the same, and I'll tell you, I don't want to take away from anybody's experience, but I remember obviously the great accomplishment and that feeling of self-worth from receiving your first Eagle Globe and Anchor and earning it on the top of that hill. But I think more importantly, I think was the realization that you were now one of them. You're a part of this tribe, and you have earned their respect. You're no longer all the horrible things they called you for 13 weeks. You're now a Marine, and that's what they're going to call you. And so I think that was probably a bigger accomplishment and more of an emotional drawing type of incident. you know, again, I don't want to distract from what anybody else experienced. You know, receiving your first Eagle Globe and Anchor, I still have mine to this day, the original Grim Reaper Eagle Globe and Anchor that I earned when I became a U.S. Marine. It's always been kept separate from the rest of my military gear. I still have it. It's in prime condition, has no scrapes, scratches, or anything. I'm taking really good care of it. But I really think the biggest sense of accomplishment came from becoming one of them, and not being, whatever they called us before anymore.
Nasty.
Nasty. That's what I mean.
You're a nasty thing. That's what
A lot of the words we can't say,
Yeah. Trying to keep this PG, for the young ones. Yeah. So now transitioning over to the fleet. I mean, my first duty, well, minus the fleet, we still had training to go through, infantry school, your school for your job and everything, which you were the same MOS as myself. A couple years ahead of me, I came and joined you in Japan, right? Iwakuni, and yep, that's where we first met. So yeah, we did meet in Iwakuni. Entering the fleet, your first duty station, was Iwakuni your first duty station, or
No, I was at Miramar where they filmed Top Gun.
Oh, okay. So tell me about your experience entering the fleet as a brand new, were you PFC?
Yeah, PFC.
Entering the fleet, now you're a big shot, and then you get around other big shots, and then you realize maybe I'm not that much of a big shot.
Not that much of a big shot. Yeah,
Right.
that realization came pretty quick. Well, like you say Hollywood Marine, and I think Miramar was the epitome of Hollywood Marines. For one, it was the home site of the Top Gun movie, and a lot of the stuff from the movie, which we watched heavily in the 80s, was still there. The volleyball field where they beat Iceman,
Right.
A lot of the bars where Goose and Maverick were singing, some of the cliff scenes out in Pacific Beach. So we got to experience a lot of what we had seen as kids there out in the San Diego life and community. But actually becoming a Marine was great. It turns out it's not all soldiering, especially in our craft in the military police field. It takes on more of a work type of setting. You get up in the morning, you go to work, you do your shift, you get off, you pop a couple beers with your guys and do it all over again the next day. And then you got 2 days off, then you got 3 days on, and then the vice versa. So it just becomes like a regular job.
Yeah, you work like the PMO side of the MP field. And I didn't realize this when I joined up, that there was a field side. I got that surprise after I left Iwakuni, got sent to Pendleton, and I said, what is this? This is not police work at all.
Not at all. Yeah,
completely different.
Well, unfortunately, I was in the law enforcement capacity at Miramar for 4 years, my whole first enlistment. Now, my second enlistment, I got shipped out to Iwakuni. And in Iwakuni, I got picked up with CID. And so I did criminal investigations for several months. And I was fortunate in that, they liked me around there. And I had really proven myself at Miramar with a lot of the reporting and a lot of the incidents that we create, a lot of the arrests and apprehensions that we made of civilians and service members alike. Unfortunately, they had seen that I was serious about law enforcement. I got picked up into CID, and so I went upstairs with the CID guys. I got to wear civvies, and they made me some makeshift credentials until I could go to CID school back in Leonardwood. But we got hit from the back by 9/11, and.
Yep. Now, you were there in Iwakuni when 9/11 happened, correct?
I was stationed in Iwakuni. It was, middle of
I remember that day.
30.
I remember that day. I was actually sleeping in the barracks, and my roommate, he was a canine handler. So he was doing canine, and his girlfriend kept calling the room. And I'm like, it was 3:00 in the morning, our time, I think it was.
Yeah, it was late. Oh, dark 30. I was
like, dude, I'm like, why are you calling constantly? He's not here. You don't know what's going on? You don't know? I said, no. I like rolled over. I'm like, went back to sleep because I was tired. And then all of a sudden, the banging on the door at like 5 a.m. Everyone's getting up, getting rolling.
Everybody's getting up. Yeah.
Oh my God. And then like for the next 6 months straight, it was, I was up on a Navy boat with a 50 cal, securing the perimeter of the base. And then when I tried to stay, they said, no, son, you're going over to Pendleton. And I get there to the field unit. I'm like, this isn't what I thought MPs were. This is like combat operations here. First
Yeah.
MSSG, prepping, providing routes, route reconnaissance, convoy security, EPW handling. Like, I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
what a shock. And I'm sure when you got there as well, that you felt like a little shock, I guess, from not realizing that there's another side to the MP field. Most people don't realize.
Working the garrison side for the better part of 5 years, and then being dropped into the field side of military police work was incredibly challenging, simply because, and I think you were there. You might even remember. I was heckled a lot because I was already a corporal. I was very close to picking up sergeant, and I had no field experience. So a lot of the non NCOs in the company were a little hesitant to follow my leadership because I didn't have that experience in the field and I hadn't earned their trust and respect yet. So it was a little bit difficult for me coming in already as a almost sergeant,
Right. And you got some Lance Corporal telling you how to, no, that's not how it's
Yeah,
done, or
I don't know if you remember old Ricky Loiza. We went out on a Desert Fire X, and Ricky Loiza and I
I
got
know
into
Ricky,
a
pal.
slight scuffle in the G
Yep.
tent, and then Staff Sergeant McDonald had to break Staff Sergeant O'Donnell had to take us apart and talk
Yep.
to us, and that's old Corps. We don't do it like that anymore. I got to get these guys to follow me and earn my respect. I'm not just gonna roll over anymore.
Yeah, explain that a little bit, because leadership is a difficult thing, and as an E4 in the Marine Corps, you're given the responsibility that most E6s, staff NCOs and above, and other services are given. You're at that non-commissioned officer entry level. You just earned your blood stripe. How did you take on that challenge in trying to lead field Marines?
Well, the good thing about the Marine Corps is you have a lot of leadership examples. So, being that I was in a garrison environment, you right away you learn which NCOs you can trust with which circumstances, and which NCOs you can, take advice from on this and that. So, I think what worked for me was pulling all the things that I found great about my leadership and abandoning a lot of things that I didn't get the point of. And one of those things is the old I don't know what we call them the FF games, playing games.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
one of those things, I never understood that. I never understood how that helped with morale or helped with making
Gunny,
a better,
Gunny,
Marine.
Gunny. I don't know if you remember Gunny Young.
Yes.
He didn't like my shave job one day, and I got to move rocks around the outside the basketball court over there.
Somewhere there's a picture
Some
of me
discipline.
painting rocks for a similar thing.
Yeah. So.
And the rocks were painted when I got there.
Yeah, but they didn't like the color, and they want them different colored rocks.
I had to reverse them. The red rocks were yellow, and the yellow rocks turned red, and
Right.
it was just ridiculous.
The games, right? It's unbelievable.
But, that's one of the things I didn't get. And another thing I learned about leadership is, having two previous NJPs, I learned right away that sometimes paperwork isn't the best way to get a Marine to follow your leadership. And so I think that's why in that one particular field exercise, I got physical with a junior Marine, because I think that's a more effective way to earn their trust than to push paper on them and force them out.
Yeah.
So that was just my particular leadership style. It does. I imagine it doesn't work for everybody. Some people have to do what they have to do and find what works for them. But I think for me, stepping up and saying, "Hey, look, we're about to cross the drink and go into some serious action, and you're going to have to follow my instructions and everybody above you. And it doesn't matter where we came from or what we're doing. I'm in charge until they find somebody better or I can't walk anymore." So.
Right.
So that was just the particular path of leadership that I chose. I tried to be understanding and helpful with my guys. And, we took 12 good men out to Iraq with Combat Service Support Company 115. And when I separated out and they discontinued my stop loss, I still had all 12 men standing with me. So that was
right.
That was a success on my part. I feel like that was a win for me.
Oh, without question. And I was going to get to the deployment. So deployment to Iraq, They broke our company up into, a couple different
Four.
CSSC 117,
Yeah.
111, 115, and then 113, I believe.
So we
Right?
had CSSB 10, the big element.
That's right. Yep.
So the
And
battalion was CSSB 10. We were the companies. So we supported the three companies, and then the CSSB 10, the battalion was the main element that would take all our EPWs from us, and they would resupply our convoys that we were providing security for, and
right.
keep command and control over us. So
Yeah, we had EOD with us, shock trauma platoon. I don't know if you guys had the same. We were
yeah, we did have
supporting
the surgeons with us.
1st Battalion, 7th Marines, and say 1st Battalion, 4th, but I can't recall. But definitely 1st Battalion, 7th Marines out of 29 Palms we were supporting. And EOD would utilize us quite a bit. Did you guys have EOD as well?
We did have EOD.
Did they like to take you guys out and provide security for them when they would clear in? Because I felt like we were always
they
with
would.
them.
We would collect weapons and munitions, and they would bring in an excavator. They'd dig a big hole in the ground. They'd throw all the munitions in there as carefully as they could, and then they'd wrap it up in det cord and C4 and blow it sky high.
Yep.
It was crazy.
Yeah, those guys love blowing
I
things
think I
up
might
too.
have sent you a picture of me holding some of that C4.
Yes, I have it. I do. Yeah, so the deployment's over for you. You were in the stop loss phase, so you were
Correct.
deployed, and then they retained you. How did you feel about that?
Well, I thought it was good because one of the milestones that I had for myself in the military was, of course, to go out and experience combat, and fight. And so that was good for me. And of course, another one was become sergeant. And so, I had hit my two major milestones in the military. And so the only other real thing I wanted to do was have a family. So after the stop loss, that was the
The
path
next
I
goal.
chose, was to start a family, have some kids, and maybe
Right.
put more together as far as roots go.
Now, did your father serve a full career in the Air Force, or was it?
If I'm not mistaken, he did two tours or two. He did 2 terms of service in the Air
Okay.
Force.
So he did just as much time as he did. So that was like
I actually only did 6.5.
okay. 6.5.
6.5. I did about 6.5 years in the Marines total.
Okay. Yeah, I think were they offering shorter enlistments in '97?
Well, because of my 2 NJPs, when
Okay. Yep.
when I did the reenlistment,
Hey.
they wouldn't let me take a full 4 because they didn't know if
What
I was gonna.
what did Chesty say about those NJPs though, right?
That's the making of a fine Marine, I'll tell you.
It is NJPs. If you don't get at least one,
blood stripe for NJPs or at least another hash mark or something.
They should, for sure. Chesty Puller, every Marine knows who he is. Says you ain't a real Marine unless you get at least one. So I guess you're above
an overachiever.
You're an overachiever. So getting out of stop loss and transitioning over to civilian life, how challenging was that for you coming out of the Marine Corps and getting that whole, I guess,
the 2003
draining the military out of you?
Yeah, so 2003, rejoining civilian life. They give you a transitioning class in the Marine Corps, and they give you a separation physical and try to prepare you, tell you what to expect. But in the reality, everybody struggles and deals with it in their own way. And I think one of the biggest things that I had a problem with was honestly not carrying a weapon everywhere I went.
Right.
You get so used to it, and it seems like a real hassle when you have it and you're accountable for it, and you got to be very particular about how you hold, present, and store your weapon. But then when you don't have it, you feel like you're missing something.
Right, like you left your keys at home or something, right?
Right. And so I think that was one of the things I struggled with, because for the longest time I took weapons with me everywhere I went, and I was very fortunate I didn't get in any trouble. I didn't have a permit to carry a concealed, but you do what you do, pray for the best.
Right.
So that was one of the things I struggled with, was being unarmed. Again, it's part of your craft in the Marines, and to not have it and come into civilian life and be missing that key component is kind of a real shock. That and the lingo, going into the office and working a normal 9 to 5, people talk differently. Things are are back to what they were. You know, all of a sudden we got pens again. We have shirts again.
Yes, and correct. Marines have a sixth sense of humor as well. I mean,
We
most
do.
service members do. So trying to adjust that sixth sense of humor back into the civilian world, where people just give you that look.
I
Like,
tell you, I still struggle with it today. Even now, I'm trying to find the words.
You'll think something's really funny, and you'll be cracking up, and someone would just stare at you like you should be put in an institution somewhere.
You need help. Yeah. What is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, for real.
It happens a lot.
Yeah. So, you have recently been you're with the VFW, is that correct? And you volunteer time there, and you joined the VFW.
It's funny. The VFW was waiting for us when we got off the plane in California.
Really?
So they showed up at the PX in Camp Pendleton, and they were asking us if we had served overseas. You know, our uniforms were a dead giveaway.
Right.
And so they gave us a card. They took our name and information and signed us up for a 1-year trial membership with the VFW. And so I took my trial membership card. We went down somewhere in the San Onofre area. We found a VFW post, and they gave us a free beer with that card. So, you know, of course, we weren't going to turn away free beer.
No.
But when the 1-year term expired, I was already working at the post office in a town near my hometown in Harlingen, Texas. I was working in Penitas, Texas. And so one of the VFW members found me, started asking about me, found out I was a war vet, and decided he wanted to sign me up. So he says, if you pay half of the dues, it comes out to $200 and change, we'll put in the other half for you, make you a lifetime member of the VFW, and you'll never have to pay anything again. So, that sounds like a pretty sweet deal. So we did it. And in 2004, I don't remember the exact date, but in 2004, I officially joined the Veterans of Foreign Wars organization. Never really participated in any events or any of their programs. But here within the last year and a half, me and a couple of Marines that I know, we do our own kind of spur of the moment Marine Corps celebration on November 10th. So every year we pull all the local Marines that we can find. We agree we're going to meet at point A, and we all show up at point A and we raise hell. And so every year it gets progressively bigger. I might have sent you some photos. Every year the group grows. We get more and more Marines to join us. And at some point, somebody convinced us to have one of these off the fly kind of Marine Corps birthday balls at the VFW here in my hometown of Harlingen. So I went down there. We had a cake cutting. We recognized the oldest, youngest Marine. We try to honor all of the traditions of a normal Marine Corps birthday ball without getting all formaled up, because just a ragtag band of guys.
Right.
And
I don't think anybody could fit in their old uniforms anyway these days.
We do have one. We do have one guy, Purple Heart, Rick Line, and he's still fit in his blues. He showed up with his his full dress blues. It was pretty exciting to see.
I think if you took a tally, the percentage of Marines that still fit in their original stuff is like 1% or something, even less than that.
I'm gonna add to that. I don't know if you remember, or if maybe they didn't do it in Paris Island, but in San Diego, when we take our boot camp photo, you put on a Marine Corps dress blue blouse. And the back of it is split open, so they pretty much fit anybody.
Yep.
And so I've already given instructions to my family that I got my blues hanging in the closet, and if for any reason they can't put them on me and put me in the casket, just to split the back open, and no one's going to know the difference. But I want to go in that suit. Yeah,
for sure. That is by far the best looking suit of any service. There's no question.
No, without a question. Yeah.
Without a question.
So down at the VFW, I'm the adjutant. I was appointed to the adjutant position, so I'm one of the officers there. Basically, I record all the minutes of our meetings. Whenever somebody makes a motion or we try to approve a new membership, I document all the ongoings. We have had a few instances where we have to send important documentation to our members or up to the state or district levels. And so I'll assist the commander in making sure that all those things are handled appropriately. Plus, I work for the post office, so sending stuff in the mail is kind of my expertise.
There you go.
So that's my position there. We are a nonprofit organization, recognized nationwide. I mean, most states and local municipalities have some form or within a certain distance of a VFW chapter. And so our Harlingen VFW was recently recognized as an All-American and All-State post because we've met all the commitments as far as contributing to our community, as far as increasing our membership, as far as raising funds and recognizing all the special military holidays that are out there. We have made and met all the obligations and exceeded the expectations of some of our peer units. And so we were recognized with All-American status, which you keep for the year. And so we're currently working to renew that All-American status for the next year because it's kind of a big deal.
Now, I besides the camaraderie aspect of what the VFW can provide a veteran, what else, if there's a veteran out there that's been kind of on the bubble of joining an organization like that, what else can that organization provide?
One of the unique things that the VFW provides is, anytime we have a function, it's typically free for all veterans. So if you're struggling and you need, a meal, if we're having an event going on where there's food, that's all free. We don't charge anything. Um, but like for instance, we had a veteran who his air conditioner was not functioning well, and so we put a motion to help purchase an air conditioner for this veteran. If the veteran asks for privacy, we try to maintain their privacy so that their business isn't spilled out. But we will allocate funds from our nonprofit and make that purchase for him. One of the things that we refrain from doing is giving cash contributions directly to veterans because those things can be misused. But if there's a veteran in need, we will usually vote, and if it's approved, we will allocate those items for them. So that's one of the ways that we help out. Indirectly, financially, we help them not by giving them the cash, but by giving them the items that they need. Um, Bedding, we had a veteran who had trouble, was struggling with bedding. We provided bedding for them, clothing. Another veteran who, unfortunately, he took his life. So we have a house surgeon, we have a veteran service officer. We also are in communication with other outreach organizations to provide counseling. So that's one of the ways that we also contribute to the veteran community in providing services to them and their family members. And then, of course, we have a great support group, the auxiliary post, which is typically made up of the spouses and family members of VFW members. That's one of the requirements is that you have to have a active membership in your family in order to be part of the auxiliary. And so the auxiliary, they're the behind the scenes characters that will cook the food or prepare the plates whenever we have these benefit barbecues or whenever we have a free meal like Thanksgiving. We serve hundreds of plates for Thanksgiving of turkey, and our auxiliary was there to support us and help us provide those meals to veterans and their families who decided to come out and fellowship. Maybe they didn't have the means at home, or they didn't have a family to celebrate with, so they came out, celebrated the VFW, and we provided those meals for them. That camaraderie and make some good holiday experiences with them. So those are just some of the ways that we help out.
It's a lot of ways. That's great that the VFW does that, and a lot of times that we forget that people transitioning from the military back to civilian life do come across having problems with that transition, alcoholism, homelessness. People go back and forth between jobs. There's always some sort of problems that people forget what that they deal with. I mean, you enlist in the service right out of high school. Most people, right, nine
Right.
times out of 10, coming right out of high school into the service to serve, not really understanding how much you're giving up and what you're giving. And that's what this podcast is about: is getting people like you on that continue to serve in another capacity after the service, providing support for veterans. That's why I thought it was important to have you come on and talk about that, being with the VFW, because veterans need to know that there are still people out there working to provide that support that is needed. And, there's plenty of other nonprofit organizations and whatnot, but having the VFW, if all you have to do is just have been in the service to become a member and have access to that. And,
Well,
um,
we will assist and provide for all veterans And but one of the unique categories that's required to be a VFW member is that you had to have served in a conflict.
Right.
So even if you're not a member,
Veteran of foreign wars would be the
right? So
giveaway.
you do have to serve
So-
on the ground or out at sea if you're in the Navy of a declared war in operation. But
I mean, going
but
back to
we
2001
still
now.
provide services to all, but you don't have to be a veteran of foreign war to be eligible for assistance or help, or to come in and seek some type of counseling or anything. We have our door open to everybody from the veteran community, regardless as to whether they served in combat or not. And we have a veteran service on site who, I mean, he's not there 24/7, but when he's available, he will help with veteran service claims and processing for veteran benefits. And that's all free of charge. So that's a good thing. A lot of people don't realize that we do have a lot of networking, especially now in the digital era, where we can help you find the help you need if we don't have it there. But we do have a wide array of assistance for veterans in the community. And again, there's no requirement. If you're a veteran honorably discharged or dishonorably discharged and you need assistance, we'll help you as best as we can. And we have, in my experience, again, I've been with the BFW since 2004. I don't know of any veterans who've been turned away and told no. You're not. It's like Christmas time. You may not get everything you wanted on your list, but we're going to do what we can to check off some of those blocks for you and make your life a little easier. So,
Well, I want to thank you for your continued service. And ladies and gentlemen, Sergeant Ryan Flores. Any social media you want people to follow? Anything you want as far as following the VFW in Harlingen?
The Harlingen VFW has a Facebook page. It's VFW Post 2410. And so that's our local Facebook page. It shares some of the accomplishments that we've had. We took we took second place this year in our community city parade, and so that was a big accomplishment. We had never placed in one of those events before, so we're getting out there. We're putting a lot of young blood into our VFW and reviving what what a lot of us would probably think is just a bunch of older gentlemen. We're putting some fresh blood into it and churning it around with this new generation of veterans that have served in combat in times of conflict. So if you've ever considered, go down there, talk with your local commander, and see maybe you can become a part of that or not. But one thing, if I got a chance to say anything of real substance and value, I'd really like to say to all of our current service members, if you're serving in active duty or you're serving in the reserves and you're injured, one of the patterns of leadership is to, suck it up, keep going, march on. And this is actually a mentality that's going to hurt you down the road. So if you injure yourself or you find yourself unable to continue, it's in your best interest to seek medical treatment with the military branch or the station that you're at and get it documented, because after a certain age, your check engine light's going to come on, and it doesn't matter what you tell these people. If you don't have proof that you experience this hardship, you're going to be fighting another uphill battle. So don't suck it up. Don't be the tough guy. We're only human, and we get hurt, and we get injured, and you need to get treatment, and you need to get documentation, and there's no shame in that. And so if your leadership tells you, just walk it off, keep on marching, or, oh, you're a sissy if you do it, don't be intimidated by that type of badgering. That's kind of, like I said, that poor leadership that you want to leave out of your own individual leadership style, or disregard if you're the person in the field, and get that treatment, because that will help you out substantially when you get older and you realize that some of the injuries you have in adult life were probably brought on by injuries from your military service. And again, if they're not documented, you didn't get treatment, it's almost impossible to get recognized and get help for those things that you hurt yourself with. So that would be probably the best advice I can give anybody, is to those active service members right now, proudly serving for our flag and serving for our country. If you hurt yourself, don't be afraid to get help, because you need it, and you're going to need it more later.
That is probably some of the best advice that I've ever heard as far as to active members. Something that I always said to myself is, like, I wish handle my finances better. I wish I would documentation of your injuries and going to the corpsman or going to, just getting things documented, because when you are 40, I'm 40 years old now, and my body's broken from all the stuff we did. You do want that documentation, and that is absolutely great advice. And I appreciate you coming on to the podcast and discussing it with me. And listen, that is probably the best advice or best thing that you should take away from this podcast if you are an active service member. Make sure that if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you hit that subscribe button, give us comments, ratings. That helps us go up the charts with those podcast catchers. And if you're watching this on YouTube, give a thumbs up, give a like, and comment as well. I want to thank you again, Sergeant Ryan Flores, for coming on, and keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate you having me on here. And, if you ever need me to come on or find some other vets for you with some different stories, I'm networked in with all the veterans here in my community. But it was great serving with you. It was great going through that experience. And I've always recognized you and all my brothers as my brothers. We went through a lot of stuff together, and we all managed to come out with our heads still basically intact for the most part. So, hey, I'm really glad you thought of me. And, like I said, and I promised on my Facebook page, whenever I get into the area, I travel a lot and I've been all over America. If I ever come into your hometown, I'll look you up. I'll find you. We'll pull some beers off or something stronger, whatever you got. So if I'm ever up in the Indiana area, I promise to come out and see you. And, you can take that to the bank.
I appreciate that, and I will hold you to it, my friend. All right, thanks again. I appreciate it. And this is the Enlisted. Thank you.
Thank you.